If you're dating or if you're wanting to date, but you keep noticing that there's certain things from your past that keep popping up and they're really distracting, almost like holding this burden, and it's keeping you from really connecting with someone new that, when like you have so much to offer. Well, I've got this way you can talk to yourself, and you can do it as quickly as 15 minutes, and you can do it immediately to start dispersing all of that negative energy that could be holding you back. And you'll know it's holding you back if you just keep getting stuck rehashing old arguments, thinking about how you wish you had done something differently, thinking about, oh, they should have done X, Y, or Z, or I should have done X, Y, or Z, and just thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, my life would be so much better if I had only done things differently. So if you're having these kinds of thoughts, this exercise is like the pressure release valve. It's been incredible for me, and I actually found it because of doing YouTube, and I was feeling very uncomfortable in front of the camera, and so I decided I was gonna film myself every single day for 15 minutes. So that's been going on for about 2 months now. But one day I was in this sort of jag of like remembering something from my past, and I was having a really hard time moving on from it. And so I thought to myself one day, as I'm just talking to camera for 15 minutes, why don't I just talk to the camera as though it's my friend, and telling my friend about exactly how I handled that problem, only as though I had handled it exactly the way I had wished I had done it. And that has been incredibly freeing for me. So let me walk you through how I do it. Now, the number one thing we just want to realize is that we're not having the end game of this story be a completely different ending. The ending needs to stay the same. If you broke up, then the ending needs to be the same. But what I find when I work with women is that often there was a moment when they said, I knew that they weren't right for me because of X, Y, and Z. So if you can pinpoint one of these moments when the trajectory of your life could have been all different if you had made a different choice. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's just remembering that moment. We're going to go back and talk through that moment. And specifically, I want you to get a video camera or use your phone, and I want you to videotape yourself talking to the camera. Talking to the camera as though you're talking to your friend, and you're just going to walk them through exactly how you faced that issue that came up, and as though you faced it exactly how you wished you had faced it. Now, because I've been doing this thing where I videotape myself every day, I realize that the real strength in this exercise isn't even in doing it one time, though that's fabulous if you just do it once. It's the repetition, because whenever I did it, the story was changing slightly and different things were revealed. One thing that's been incredible about this process is just things that never occurred to me, boundaries that had been crossed that had never quite been spoken, like I had sensed deep in my body. I had been very frustrated, but it's almost like I wasn't completely sure why I was reacting this way. Sure, I was, we all have things that we wish that we had done differently. It's kind of like when someone says something to you and you wish that you had responded with the perfect comeback, and then you realize it later on. So you're just experiencing that later on, even if this happened 3 years ago, if it happened 4 years ago, no problem. I promise that this exercise can bring you a lot of relief and really start to transform things. So do it at least, I would say, 5 times. I don't mean in a row, I mean do it once and then the next day do it, and the next day. If you skip a day, that's fine. But I recommend altogether do it at least 5 times for real relief, for like real insight on, what was going on there, and, how you may have faced it differently if you knew what you know now. And one of the things that I find really amazing about this exercise is that I think when we're holding on to things that don't serve us, like these negative memories about the past and things that we wish could have changed. A lot of the frustration or the worry comes down, at least I'll speak for me, worrying that if I'm in a similar situation, that I'm going to once again betray myself. Like, forget the fact that this person may have betrayed you, but what's at heart here is the way that we betrayed ourselves. And when we can begin to experience facing things differently, we start to trust ourselves more. We start to model how we want to behave in the future when something similar might show up. I discovered this just from filming myself daily, but when I got online, because I figured this must be an exercise that exists. It looks like it's called, and let me look at my screen here, looks like it's called it's self-directed narrative therapies. And what it's meant to do is sort of switch you from like a passive victim of your history to an active pattern interrupter. At it, I feel that it's these negative thoughts are sort of dampening our energy because they're sort of like a constant criticism around our actions, and this sort of negativity, this sort of self-directed criticism decreases our attractiveness energy. When we're able to let go of negativity, naturally our attraction, our whole spirit, all of our energy just increases. And so that's why this is so helpful, because we're releasing this sort of self-criticism and just like opening up our energy. And so another question is, I've done affirmations. How is talking to camera as though they're my friend and recounting what happened different than doing an affirmation? And I think that a huge difference is just talking about it as though it actually happened and recounting the exact experience, because you're sort of visualizing it in your mind. And this is like a whole self kind of experience, rather where I feel affirmations can just be statements that don't carry all of these visuals and other sorts of signals that there's real change happening, because our memory, our body doesn't know the difference between a memory that we're making up and a memory that we're constructing. And so by constructing these memories that are sort of helping us to not only trust ourselves more, but trust, our future and our future choices, really makes a huge, deep difference. That affirmations just, not that affirmations don't work, it's kind of a different thing. Affirmations are great because you can do this affirmations for a much longer time. You can do affirmations over a whole year, 6 months, whereas this is more just like a very direct hit on what it is that is bothering you and holding you back, and clarifying this like sort of very intense negative energy that's been held there, and we're dissipating that. So what if you are thinking to yourself, like, this preferred choice, what I wish I would have done, I still feel uncomfortable about it because it feels kind of mean, and that's not who I see myself as. Like, and I feel like this is an interesting question, because if you're thinking, would it have been nice to the other person, but real deep down that it would have still been the preferred choice for you, the right thing for you and your health, then I urge you to let go of trying to care for others and put yourself first, because it's only by helping ourselves first that we can help others. It's kind of like when you are flying on an airline and you're supposed to help children if there was a problem with the pressure and we needed to put on our masks, then the parents are told, put on your mask first, because it's only when you're in top form that you can help someone else. Now, the other big question is, why even do this exercise if there's going to be the same outcome? And my answer there is that people are going to be a lot less likely to be able to get one over on us, because we've faced all the different possibilities, all the possibilities that could be wrong for us, and then we could make a different choice. This is kind of widening that gap. Sometimes the gap can be very small, where we make choices out of fear or whatever, and this is helping to open that gap, because we're getting so much more experience of making choices in a way where it feels expansive, And, walking through that door, the gap created, like let's think of it as a door, calmly, collected, and instead of rushing through and, ending up being unhappy. How do I know if this is working? If it's working is when you are starting to talk about the story, and instead of it feeling very negative, you start playing with it. It starts feeling kind of like, ooh, I get to go do my video now. I get to like have that conversation. And there just starts being less of a charge around it. There's less negativity. There's more sort of like playfulness, more like, okay, this happened, moving on, what's for dinner? And the last question, is it okay to do this for more than one situation from the past? And absolutely, but I recommend doing it multiple times for one situation, like I said, like around 5 times before moving on to the next situation. So how is this feeling? This is something that feels like it could actually be transformative for you. If so, I encourage you to go ahead and grab your video camera, grab your cell phone, start filming yourself. Start at least with 10 minutes, maybe even 15, and then wait until the very next day and see if you start through this repetition, through this exercise, to get some clarity, to get some openness. And are things starting to flow more? Is your attraction energy starting to expand? Are you letting go of some negativity that could be holding you back?